no-thought samadhi is cultivated by those of externalist ways. They distance themselves from production and extinction. They forcefully prevent the mind and the dharmas belonging to the mind from working. They bring the operation of the mind and the dharmas belonging to the mind to a stop, so that there is no actual thinking. But this is really a forced situation. It is similar to putting a heavy rock on a clump of crab grass to prevent the grass from growing up. But the roots remain. Those immersed in the no-thought samadhi are still not free of the seventh consciousness's innate attachment to self. The two innate attachments of the seventh consciousness: 1. The innate attachment to self. 2. The innate attachment to dharmas.
6 is the samadhi of extinction. This is also a samadhi cultivated by those of externalist ways. Again, it is a case of using a kind of force as a means to arrive at extinction. Here, the sixth consciousness and the dharmas belonging to the mind cease to function, just as in the no-thought samadhi described above. That means that one in this samadhi does not strike up false thoughts, yet again it is very forced. Since false thinking is forcibly extinguished, this is called the samadhi of extinction. However, the seventh consciousness's innate attachment to dharmas has not ceased to function. In the one above it was the innate attachment to self, which is the coarser of the two. Here, the attachment is a bit subtler and is the innate attachment to dharmas. The seventh consciousness and the eighth consciousness still mingle together and one is not yet free of them. So, although this is called a samadhi, the samadhi of extinction is not a true samadhi.
7. The reward of no-thought is different from the no-thought samadhi, in that the former is a cause, whereas the latter is a result. The no-thought samadhi is a kind of state in which one has not yet relinquished one's body. The reward of no-thought is when one has already relinquished one's body and receives this reward of no-thought. At that time, one is reborn in the heaven of no-thought, in the fourth dhyana. Although there is no longer any thought, there remains a very subtle attachment to form, which still exists in the eighth consciousness and which one assumes to be one's life. This refers to an extremely subtle aspect of the Marx division of the eighth consciousness. It causes a person to still feel that he has a life. But this life still has an end to it, and when that occurs, the person can still fall.
You may remember the practitioner who cultivated to attain the heaven of no thought? When he sat in meditation, he was continually disturbed by a fish jumping in the water, until one day he got angry. He said, "I'm going to turn into a kingfisher and get you, fish. I'm going to eat you up." When he relinquished his body, he was born in the heaven of neither thought nor no thought, obtaining his reward of no thought. But after his heavenly blessings were used up, he fell and was reborn as a kingfisher. When I tell you that these two pigeons here used to monastics who did not keep the precepts, and that is how they have ended up, you should understand it is the same principle. 8 is bodies of nouns. Nouns are the names of people, places, and things. Every human being is called a person, which is a noun. They also each have their own individual names, which are proper nouns. There is also the distinction of general and specific nouns that applies to material objects. For example, we can call this a burner, or more specifically, an incense burner. We can call that a vase, or more specifically a flower vase. Here we refer to a general noun simply as a noun and a noun compound as a body of nouns.
9 is bodies of sentences. Just as bodies of nouns are used to delineate dharmas, so too are bodies of sentences used to clarify them. All activities are impermanent, characterized by production and extinction is a sentence. When groups of sentences are used to reveal dharmas, they are called bodies of sentences. 10 is bodies of phonemes. Phonemes are sounds that carry meaning in a given language. In Chinese, each character is monosyllabic. When characters are compounded in a meaningful way, they form a body of phonemes. The sutras are all bodies of phonemes. All kinds of books, articles, treatises, and so forth, are bodies of phonemes. 11 is birth, and 12 is dwelling. Everything subject to birth will also dwell. People, creatures, and things are all subject to 13, which is aging, and 14, which is impermanence. With birth, something comes into being that previously did not exist. Aging refers to the decline and decay of something that still exists. Therefore, aging is also known as changing. During the stage of dwelling, one remains stable, but when aging sets in, things become different. These four refer to the cycle of coming into being, dwelling, decaying, and disappearing.
15. Revolving, 16. Distinction, and 17. Interaction also relate to each other. Revolving literally means turning and flowing, and refers to how we people have from beginningless time until the present been turning on the wheel of rebirth in the six paths. We have been flowing and turning in birth and death for myriads of kalpas without rest. This process never stops, and so it is called revolving. Distinction means determining of differences and refers, for example, to the distinctions that occur in the process of cause and effect. Whatever kind of cause one plants will reap a corresponding result. But sometimes the same kinds of causes can lead to different effects, and that is known as distinction. Interaction is the next, dharma number 17. Someone is wondering how, since these 24 are called non-interactive, there can be one among them called interaction. That is a good question. It appears to be a contradiction, but actually it is not. Basically, these 24 dharmas are non-interactive with the dharmas of the other four general categories. They do not interact with mind dharmas, they do not interact with dharmas belonging to the mind, they do not interact with form dharmas, and they do not interact with unconditioned dharmas. But this dharma of interaction does interact with the dharmas within its own category. The rest of the 24 activities dharmas non-interactive with the mind.
The interaction is that involved with the cycle of cause and effect. The cause is the beginning of the cycle and the effect is the end outcome. Between the cause and the effect there is the mark of karma, which interacts with both the cause and the effect. So this cycle involves the revolution, the distinction, and the interaction. The interaction which occurs is decisive, just like a shadow that follows a shape. It is never inexact by the least bit. 18. Speed refers to an extremely powerful forward momentum. It is found in the flash of lightning, the velocity of wind, the swiftness of a bird flying through the air, the quickness of a rabbit on the run. These are all outward manifestations of speed. 19. The dharma of sequence refers to things being in regular succession, whether it is from above to below, from front to back, or to layers, series, or gradations. It is the presence of ordering and the absence of chaos or confusion.
20 is time, is a dharma that is revealed in the marking of intervals, such as years, months, days, hours. The shortest interval of time is a kshana. The longest interval of time is limitlessly many kalpas. Time, too, is a dharma. 21. Direction refers to location or placement. We distinguish direction by referring to things as being in front or behind, to the left or to the right, above or below, and so forth in relation to other things. 22. Numeration refers to numbering systems. This, too, is a dharma. 23. Combination can be blending and uniting, as when milk is homogenized. Or it may be a fitting together, such as of a jar with its lid. 24. Discontinuity is the opposite of combination, in that it refers to spontaneity as opposed to causation. Externalists attach to the extreme view of spontaneity, whereas those of the two vehicles attach to causation, the coming together of causes and conditions. But the nature of the treasury of the thus come one is neither causation nor spontaneity, neither combination nor discontinuity.
Those are the 24 non-interactive dharmas. They do not belong to form dharmas, mind dharmas, dharmas belonging to the mind, or unconditioned dharmas, and so are termed the 24 are not interactive.